could do to assuage what the state wants to see in the way of local approvals from a planning and zoning perspective.
So a simple resolution of support for tax credits would not be sufficient. We would have to get that reason.
That's right. Well, and I think that the applicant suggested that we add a condition indicating that planning and zoning approval would be sought at a later date. The state has indicated to me that they're going to need to see more than that in a highly competitive environment for housing tax credits for them to award that to the applicant. So I just want to throw that in the mix. It's certainly the applicant's right to be here and ask for this, but I wanted you to be aware of what my conversations with the state were.
If I may, real quick, and I appreciate those comments. I mean, that is true, and I believe I was alluding to that prior to. I mean, we're going to start this process immediately. We're going to have our design teams. We have a team that travels with us, with Mr. Peterson's group laying this plan out. We're going to attempt to start the preliminary pre-zoning process. By the time we get to that date, we'll have a good feel on A, whether we're moving forward or not. B, we have a very good reputation with Mr. Bentley's office and understanding his requirements there. That being said, the state actually came to us a few years back when the Brisbane company, which was a national affordable housing developer, went belly up and had us actually finish 2 of his projects in the greater Kansas City metro area, one of which we now own and the other one we still manage. So I mean, we have a very good reputation with the state and with our product and our type, and I believe, I won't overstep my bounds and say we're a respected developer under this program within the state. Mr. Bentley does give us some hard deadlines. Have we kind of, again, I go back to the point saying we will know before April 1 whether we're getting anywhere or not. I by no means want to tell you that, we will pull the application if we know we're not going to get it by the time we need it. This just lets me get the ball running.
I did just want to add that, if it's the applicant's intent, and Mike, I'm not even sure what our timeline would be for processing of the rezoning application, but both the resolution of intent and then, kind of the positive indication from the city as to zoning would be required by the state by that April 1 deadline. They don't have to have their resolution of intent before February 7th, according to Mr. Bentley. So we could table this pending the rezoning application consideration of that.
Is that what you'd recommend, Cheryl, or would you recommend voting on it? I mean, what's
different
the
than what you have before you tonight? Instead of, if you don't want to just not approve it at this time, if you don't want to deny it, then you probably want to table it and come back. Because you will, the time frame for our application date and being able to get it through Planning Commission and to the council.
Tight.
Right, I don't think, this would be what the deadline,
Next up,
14th of February, is that correct?
right, 12th or 15th.
Okay.
The 12th or 15th, but what that'll do is set the applicant up for a Planning Commission meeting toward the end of March. So potentially they could have a recommendation from the Planning Commission by the end of March. I mean, if you're waiting for the Planning Commission, it'd be difficult to find a window where you could get the resolution before the governing body before the 1st of April. Certainly you wouldn't have the decision of the governing body. I also want to point out that this issue with the comprehensive plan, land use map, and that's not the only, that's not the only basis for decision, but that issue, that's not going to go away with a rezone application. So, just information to consider.
What other things could go here under C3 if we left it as it is? And I realize that's not the question tonight, but I guess once we head down this path, it's much harder to stop this thing. And frankly, I don't know why we'd want to take a prime piece of property that's going to generate possibly sales tax as well as property tax revenue, and downgrade it to, or down, I guess, down zone, is that the right, to a residential property. I mean, how could that benefit the community, I guess, is what I'm asking. And I'm assuming that's why is that why you've recommended denial?
Well, just to be clear, my recommendation was not trying to make a recommendation on a land use at this point. It's just, it seems premature to support a resolution or to pass a resolution when, you know, it requires a rezone and the comprehensive land use map is, but as far as the analysis of the land use beyond that, that's beyond the scope of what my recommendation is to you. To answer your question, some of the uses that the C3 zone, that could be done under the C3 zoning are things like hotels, retail, car sales. Some of these might require a conditional use permit. But certainly there are a range of uses. There are some other uses that might not be all that pleasant or compatible with some of the other uses around it, and that includes things like contractor storage yards and things like that.
I guess, and I understand from your perspective, you're not recommending denial of it on a land use basis, as you said, right? But I guess as a citizen, as a taxpayer, I don't know why we would be interested in this kind of development. I mean, this is a really prime piece of commercial property as is. I mean, if the current average sale price in a house is $168,000 in Gardner, let's just say, and I don't know what the cost to build these is going to be per unit, but I'm guessing $60,000 to $70,000. Is that about right?
We're looking at total development of about 5.8, so yeah, 65.
65,000. And if each of those projects, whether it be a house at 170,000, 165,000, or a three-bedroom, income-restricted housing unit, they both produce 1.5 kids, maybe 2 kids in the school system, but the $65,000 unit, which, by the way, isn't going to be appraised at 65, right? How is the appraisal process going to work?
That goes from county to county.
But, I mean, in our county, it'll be considered income-producing property, so it'll be
Correct.
appraised at its income level, which will be, because it's income restricted, at a much lower level than even a $65,000 apartment, right? I mean, in other words, if Moonlight Townhomes Moonlight Apartments has a $70,000 unit as well, and it's not income restricted, doesn't it produce more tax revenue than an income restricted property?
It all goes to the proposed rents and the rents that are being achieved at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
But-
So our rents are set at right now, our rents are set at what market rates basically are generating right now.
But in the end, to make it a viable investment, the rent is going to be lower than the tax value on even for the same type of single-family house, and it's going to have the same needs, from every perspective, infrastructure, police. This is the exact opposite, in just my opinion, of how you build a community. You don't dilute the tax base. You try to improve it. So,
yeah, I think that people are getting your point. I mean, I don't think that we're here to talk to them about the viability of
well, I'm just
of their investment.
Well, I'm not. I'm talking to Mike. So.
Okay. Well, and then that's. I mean, right now, what we're trying to get to is whether or not we're going to adopt a resolution or deny the request. Some of the things that you're bringing up, I mean, these are matters that should come up further down the road. The zoning piece.
Well,
so
unless you oppose it now, in which case it won't come back.
Well, I don't have a vote, and I'm not advocating either way. at this point. Just, these folks are here, I think they're looking for an answer.
Just one other piece, and this is probably for the applicant, I mean, usually there